Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Thank you again for coming. Today is the 7th of February, already 1 week of this month is gone by. Time, as we can see, goes quickly, and we all understand the value of it, as devotees, and the importance of utilizing it, every moment of it, for the pleasure of Krishna and for our spiritual advancement. So we have 3 weeks left in this month, which will be often, what shall we say, well, they'll be dramatized by festivals, more and more festivals, and you see more and more devotees starting to arrive. So let's hope we can stay focused in our program. We also wish to welcome some devotees who've been here before. Sudeti Mataji has been here, I believe it was in this last summer or
April.
April. Was it that long ago? Oh, okay. Okay, she came and then she told me she wanted to come back, and Krishna has now arranged for her to be back again. She may have to go in now, but she's very sweet, devotee from the U.S. And then Bal Mataji. I keep calling her Bal because I said SMS at the start. That's good.
Gopal.
I call her little Devi. I call her by the name of her Devi. Bharti Mataji was not so well for a time, but we encourage her not to be hopefully intimidated by her attempts to integrate Bhakti Shastri activities into our study. And she said, no, that's okay. She likes the Gita and wants to study along that aspect with us. I think all the rest of us know each other, right? So, Sudeti Mataji. Sudeti, are you a Prabhupada disciple? Are you? Yes, you're a Prabhupada. Very nice. Very, very good fortune here. Okay. All right, so the objective, as you know, is to run a 6-month preparatory Bhagavad Gita, YNOD, Ishapanachad's program, in whatever way we can. It's basically overview study in our group, and if people voluntarily choose, home study, whatever time they can afford to do preliminary work, answering study questions, learning slokas, reading and listening. We provide students with a lot of options so that whatever your schedule, your interests, ability allow, you can take as much benefit as you possibly can derive from this rare opportunity, this blessing of Krishna consciousness. Actually, the more you study the books and the more you begin to realize about the good fortune, the more enthusiastic I think you become to take advantage of it. That's good fortune. Today, if we follow our schedule of 6 chapters for every 2-month period, we will be giving you overview, breakdown, and thematic flow of chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. And we will be going over the study questions that are in the Bhakti Shastri Guide. And we will be introducing some ideas that I'm meditating upon for a presentation that at least I've been asked to do, and I will invite those of you who wish to help me for the Vaishnavi retreat. We do have a date for one session, and in the past some of you helped me before, Radhika Priya helped me before. I'm now meditating on the details, but on the 24th of March, and I understand that I just got that official date today, which is a Monday, and the time will be from 10:30 in the morning until 12:30. And I just, as soon as I got the date, I called the driver, because we always take materials for the participants. 24th of March, that's a Monday. And the topic is Srila Prabhupada, the Master Teacher, and the specific subtopic is lessons in reader, writer proficiency for Shastric study course requirements. So I do have Pradeep now helping me on the computer, and we'll try to put together a simple little resource book for participants, which will get that, as well as perhaps putting it into a slide format, so on the screen people can see the points. And I do want to share these ideas with you now, because the Statri asked me, will you be telling these things to us? So for 2 reasons I do that, because if I do that, I can see if the participants here understand the concepts. Also, if you find the concepts benefit your study. And it also helps me refine the concepts, because the more I think about them, the more I can adjust them. And then practice is always good, right? Not that you're guinea pigs, but by practicing. Then when we're faced with a larger audience, more variability, that's the other problem. You people are quite accustomed to our procedures. So the tendency is, the first step in presentation is know the audience. Okay? So a larger audience of mixed ability, some extremely learned, scholarly, Narayanis and Kushantas and you name it. You know, we have our scholars. To the young people coming who are coming to have sangha but haven't even taken formal steps towards initiation. You know, so we have quite a range of people to attract, inspire, enlighten. So that's different. So that means whatever we do has to be honed. So it's simple but deep. So we can incorporate. Okay. All right. So one more thing about that. The concept is one of an extension of last year. Last year we said everyone is a teacher, learner, right? What are you all? Teachers. You're teacher learners by nature. And what we did was we showed you by overview breakdown how to get a big picture of the material to be studied. Specifically, Prabhupada's books, right? And you see in our program, what do we stress? Overview and what? Breakdown. Right, overview and what? Breakdown. That gives us the aerial view of the topic. Now, if we wish to go more deeply, I've taken a new paradigm, which is an extension of the other one. And this one is called reader-writer. We have to read, and we also have to write. And then I had a realization that in the past, everything was the oral tradition. So it wasn't reader-writer. It was listener-speaker. Right? The sages, you're all listening right now, right? And I'm speaking. So what happened with the progression of time was oral had to become visual. You understand that point? Does that make sense? That what people could hear as listeners or speak as speakers had to be recorded in a visual form. So suddenly now the vast audience has to be readers, which is not reading is nothing more than a visual form of the oral sound. Do you all follow that? Does it make sense? And writing is nothing more than putting in visual form the spoken word. So the two are the same. Just one's audio, one's visual. So that is the concept. And the idea is to help participants with simple basic precepts. How reading can be done, let's say reading, listening, more effectively. And how speaking, writing can be done more effectively. By giving them skills and formulas. Okay? Does that sound good so far?
Yeah.
So is that clear enough to everybody? Because that's my concept. It's in some ways simple, but in some ways it's very deep. But I think if we pursue it logically, and today I want to try a few more ideas such as that with this group. So you're all by willing participants. This is what we call pilot program. It's nice to know that. All right, so now let us do a quick with our little 1881 books, if you'll take out 1881 books. We want to see the conceptual flow from where we started to where we are now. Now some of you may have in your little trays, I have only 10 copies, so some of you might have received an 1881 in your tray, or some may have your book. Okay? It is very important in studying to have contextual reference. Where am I? For instance, If someone calls you up on the phone, which should be switched off now, where are you now? Oh, I'm in the guest house. I'm across from the management department. I'm in the legal office. And I'm sitting in a sofa. Lounge chair, right? So people can find you. So similarly, when we want to know what Krishna said to Arjuna, we have to understand it in context. So we always have to get the big picture. Contextual reference. So then when we begin our more detailed study of a particular dialogue, which is chapter 4 today, that dialogue will be anchored to something we know, and it will be able to link us to something ahead. Right? You link from the past into the future with the present information. Everybody follow that? All right.
Yes.
Am I getting too philosophical?
No.
Okay, good. All right, very good. All right, let us now begin with the help of our study guide, 1881, and our own computers. Okay, so quickly, our conceptual flow from this point. In the first chapter, which was observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, we have what in any presentation requires is what is called the excitement setting. If people are excited, they are attentive, right? There's a war. Millions of soldiers are lined up to fight each other. If this were just a conversation Krishna and Arjuna had in the middle of night over some chapatis, it wouldn't be too exciting. But now the reader is, my goodness, something like 64 million warriors, the greatest fighters on the planet, the Supreme Lord, his dear friend Arjuna, poised for battle, friends and relatives, a fratricidal war. This is the time to speak philosophy, because otherwise nobody will pay attention. So the setting is there to create excitement. And the excitement is, again, opposing armies, conflict. The conflict is established, the place is established, Kurukshetra, the warriors, the Kauravas and the Pandavas is defined. Everything required for drama is there in the first chapter. And there were 4 main topics there which revealed the internal conflict, because that's the real issue. Okay? So the internal conflict is that Arjuna does not wish to fight for many reasons. Okay? And if we remember, we had our little 4-step, our 4 words. We've learned to compress. Our first topic was what? Yeah, war, right, preparation for war. And then predicted outcomes. What's going to happen?
Signs of
Victory, right? We're going to have this as a thinking skill when we do our presentation. There are 5 mental actions. One is linking in the past and another is predicting the future. And there it is in the second section, signs of victory. And then we see here the real mood of the Lord. As what? Bhakti-Vasal. This is the highest understanding of Krishna. He loves his devotees. He's not there as some God who's just into judging, and he loves his devotees. This is the essence of the Bhagavatam. This is the essence of the Gita. Okay, and the final one, the final section is Arjuna's doubts. He's explaining Dharma, all kinds of dharmic reasons why at this point, in the middle of the battle, millions of warriors, he's a famous hero, he's going to put down his Mandiva bow and he's going to refuse to fight. Now this is unexpected for someone of his caliber, at least to say. A qualified, famous warrior, friend of Krishna, right? And he's deciding in the middle of a battle, at the onset, I don't think I want to fight. So those 4 reasons, those are the internal conflict. Every narration must have a conflict. Sometimes in life we get upset, oh, somebody doesn't like me, or I have a problem. Folks, that's life. And life's a drama, is it not? If there were no conflicts, we'd be floating along smoothly and there would be no excitement.
I read something very interesting, and people like to hear other people's problems because they like to solve. It's like a puzzle. Put it here, put it there. So
it's nature. You read any book on how to write a play, you have to have
people love to solve
settings, conflict, and resolution. It has to be solved. It just doesn't keep going on. So everybody follow this so far. Chapter 1, we all know why. Okay, now from chapter 2 on, Krishna speaks the Gita. And the second chapter, 72 verses, is the table of contents of the entire Gita. We're just doing a quick contextual review here. It's important to know the flow. And in this section, we get the outline of all of now Krishna's instructions begin. And it's an interesting point of etiquette. Why is Arjuna there? Why can't Krishna just do a monologue and tell us all in the world about himself, about philosophy? This is an important point of etiquette. We may not have thought about it. It's not polite to talk about yourself. It's not polite. It's a breach of etiquette.
And then how would there be trauma?
Right. And then we go too. Right. So Arjuna is there, is the friend who's asking Krishna to explain the laws of God, to describe his own glories, his position, to describe devotions. Because if Krishna just walks out and said, all right, everybody, I'm God, this is what you need to do. It doesn't ring well, does it? No, he's being asked. And Arjuna knows, but for the benefit of those of us or others who may not believe, he's asking all these questions. So in chapter 2, how many verses?
72.
Right, now we're going to hear transcendental explanations as to why the 4 reasons Arjuna had not to fight. Krishna's going to give him 4 reasons why he should fight. Okay? So the first question, the first section was Arjuna's what?
Doubts.
Further doubts, but he then surrenders, because this is the issue. Everyone is faced with problems. If he's intelligent, he admits it. And if he's more intelligent, he asks someone who can help him. Because Arjuna kept arguing, and then he said, I'm still perplexed. Therefore, I need help. So, it's important to know to whom to go for help. Will anybody do it? Is anybody the right answer? No. So the important thing is you go to the authority descending from Krishna, because he's absolute. Krishna's there's nothing beyond Krishna. And anyone who's speaking in his line is bona fide. So you go to a bona fide representative of Krishna, who's known as the spiritual master. And he can help you solve your problems. Right? Nobody else can. Nobody else can. Because life is meant to be perplexing. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Yay. That's why we're all here. We're perplexed. And we're trying to solve a problem. So we get 4 reasons to fight. And the first one was what? Gyan, right. Gyan. Wait a minute, they're not going to die. They're not going to die, they're souls. You can't kill them. You said, oh, I don't want to kill my friends. And what was the second reason not to fight? Or that you should fight? Karma Kanda, right. Even if you want to win a happy kingdom and be happy, if you perform your duty, you will win. Or lose, you will win. If you die, you go to the heavenly planets, and if you lose, you win the earthly kingdom. Okay. What was our third reason? Remember?
Buddhi.
Yes, Buddhi. And I don't want simple reaction. He said, yeah, but if you fight with transcendental knowledge, act with Gyan, right? Not just act. You act transcendental knowledge, everybody. If you act on the platform of Gyan, there's no reaction. This is why transcendental knowledge is so amazing. That knowledge burns up reactions. Burns it up. Just the knowledge. It's the fruit we'll find today of all mysticism. Transcendental knowledge. Then the last thing he says, and then you have to be fixed in Sthita Prajna, a transcendental position, and he describes that. Okay, so we know now what's happening in chapter 2. So now in chapter 3 we're going to have an elevation. This is called Karma Yoga. Alright, because we're moving up to chapter 4, and this is what we're getting to. But we have to see what happened before. So we understand chapter 4. Karma Yoga. Here we have karma, which means, it can mean many things. Karma means work, action. Yoga means linking with the transcendental objective. What does it mean linking with? Transcendental. Yes, I'm doing it to link up to God immediately. Just karma or Gyan by themselves, under the influence of the 3 modes. You stay here. So this chapter 3 was 43 verses. And how many divisions did it have? 4. Very good. You all remembered 4. Okay? And do you remember what they were? Renunciation of work? Yes! Well, now I'm confused. You told me I should renounce work, but do I work in devotion? I'm confused. So renunciation of work? Or do I work in devotion? Right. And then Krishna's answer is definitive. You should do what? You should work in devotion. Yes, you should work in devotion. And that makes you from karma kanda, you want the results, to karma yoga, you sacrifice. You don't take, you do what? Sacrifice. You give. Right. Because most people in the material world are here to do what? Take. It's called exploit. Either I exploit the material nature or I exploit other people. That's it. The whole program, anybody in the material body, in the material world, is here with that intention. Guaranteed. Sad to hear, but true. That's where we're body. So, from karma kanda, now the attitude changes from taking to giving. I'm giving the fruit. Right? And what's to say? Well, let's say now I'm liberated and I don't have to work. What do I do then? That's in part 3. What do I do then? I said the example. Yes, maybe I'm transcendental. I know all this. I don't have to do work. Even Krishna doesn't have to do work, but he does work to set the what? Example, so that the others are not misled. And there's danger in this world. The reason we came here was to exploit. And the minute our love for Krishna was touched by the material modes, what happened to it? It turned into what? Lust. Lust. Everybody here is the embodiment of that desire, in one form or another. So we have to beware of what? Lust, which is what we are infected with. So those are the 4 sections. The first one was working in devotion instead of renouncing your work. Giving up the fruits, right? Setting the example if you're already transcendental. And watch out for lust and how it brings you down into the material pool again. So you all have that. So now we're ready for chapter 4. Okay, you got the flow, everybody? Yeah. All right. I didn't want to spend too much time, but we have a few people in who are back on board. Bharati, and did that help you a little bit, Bharati? Yeah. All right. Did you help you, Bharati? It's a picture. All right, so turn in your book now to chapter 4. And we first have to know the title. And what is this one called? Transcendental knowledge. Yes, this is what Srila Prabhupada is giving us. Transcendental knowledge. All right? Now, someone from chapter 3 might have said, okay, I give up the fruit. But what's in it for me? There has to be some benefit to sacrifice. This is what we will find. The result from giving up the fruit of your work is transcendental knowledge. And someone will say, oh, that's nice. Why is that so important? You're going to find out why it's so important. Okay, I know about Bhagavad Gita, I know Bhagavatam, and I know Krishna is God, and I know I'm a soul, and okay, so what? That knowledge burns up fruitive reaction. That is the gift of sacrifice. Everybody follow that important point? Because everybody has to figure, well, there must be some higher benefit to what I do. Somebody say, why are you going to that class today? There's a higher benefit to the sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. All right, so this chapter 4 is how big?
42.
Yes, we open our computer and we find it is how many verses? 42. This is very important because now we know the length of this particular dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna on transcendental topics, transcendental knowledge, the fruit of sacrifice in the past chapter. As we look at our little book, how many little divisions do we see? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now our process again for easy anchoring, memory links, is just to make one word for each section topic, section title. 5 sections mean 5 section titles. We don't try to put the whole thing in, but this one's very easy. Our first one is going to be what? What's our word? Krishna. Krishna. And our second topic will also be about? Well, we're just going to say Krishna. Krishna, and then we're going to be hearing more about Krishna. Then we're going to be hearing in our third one, we want one word, Karma. Karma. KK. So we have Krishna, Karma, KKK. 3 Ks. And then we're going to repeat another word 2 times. Transcendental, and transcendental. Okay? So we have Krishna, Karma, transcendental. Now that's a lot easier to remember than 5 topics, isn't it? Okay, what are the 5, everybody? Krishna, Karma, transcendental. Okay, now it's going to be easy to add more. Because you have your link. And you've got your memory link. So the first one is going to be transcendental knowledge about Krishna. And your second one is going to be Krishna is the goal of all paths and the creator of Varnashram. Right. We're going to find out, well, what does that have to do with anything? Okay? So the first one was what? Transcendental knowledge about Krishna. Now see, we're adding to our anchors. And our second one is what? Krishna. Object of all paths. And the creator of Varnashram. We're going to talk about what's that mean. Okay? Then our third one is going to be what? Karma Yoga. Now, we've heard about Karma Yoga, but now it's going to be defined very deeply. What is action and inaction? Inaction and action. This sounds paradoxical. What is this paradox? Like, he's within and without, and he walks and he does not walk. Yes, these are Upanishadic terms here. Right? Krishna's inconceivable nature. Okay, so we have, first one is transcendental knowledge about Krishna. And Krishna is the goal of all paths and the creator of Varnashram. And the next section is Karma Yoga. And then we're going to go into 2 understandings of transcendental knowledge. The first one will be sacrifices that lead to transcendental knowledge. Not everything we sacrifice gives us transcendental knowledge. We may sacrifice for our dog, for our cat. Will that give us transcendental knowledge? No. Not so likely. Not so likely. And the last one will be a Summary of transcendental knowledge. Right, summary of transcendental knowledge. Do you have a little bit of a picture now? Yeah. Okay. Turn to your partners and tell them the 5 topics very, very quickly. So we have a lot to learn. What are the 5 topics of chapter
4? The third one is karma. The 4th one is sacrifice. Leads to transcendental knowledge. And then the summary of transcendental knowledge.
Chapter 4, 42 verses. Karma, transcendental. The first one is Krishna. And it's the transcendental knowledge. Second one is Krishna leads to path and create ruler for Varnashram. Third one is Karma Yoga. Fourth one is Krishna, the transcendental Krishna creator, transcendental knowledge.
You know the sign. Krishna sacrifices the body. Because even if you know all the slokas, you still may not get the main part.
Yes, and then summary of transcendental.
Because then you see how the parts even though you may be able to recite it still may not click. You're going so much faster than Okay? We were stressing again, even if you know 42 slokas by heart in Sanskrit and English, you still may miss the forest for the trees. If you know the section titles, the progressive flow of the philosophy will make more sense. Do you all agree? Yes. Today we're going to stress a little bit more about seeing how brilliantly each sloka takes you one step further. Next step into the next. Good. I think when you start studying the Gita this way, you'll appreciate not only Prabhupada's purports, you'll see their ecstasies, but you'll see Krishna's brilliance. It's unbelievable, actually, you start analyzing each sloka. You say this and then you learn that, and then when you learn that, you learn something more, and each time it unfolds and it's all connected, and how he does it, I don't know. But it's there for us to appreciate, discover, and relish. Okay? So now you all know the section topics?
Yes.
All right, now we need to know how big they are. Okay, we did a little game last time. All right? So our first topic is transcendental knowledge of Krishna. Okay? And how big is that? We're going to put the numbers on that one. So we want to know where this is, because remember, we want to access information quickly. So we know that starts with the first sloka, and where does it stop? 10. 110. Everybody got that?
Yes.
110, chapter 4, would be elaborating on the topic, section title, Transcendental Knowledge about Krishna. We know the address. Now we know the what? Now we know where. 1 through 10. Remember these because we'll play our game. Okay. Now the next topic is Krishna is the goal of all the paths and leader of Varnashram. So obviously that will start with 11, and where will that go? 15. Okay? So if we wanted to access quickly for someone, let's say we're preaching, or we're doing our own thinking, our study, and we want to know, well, what does it mean by Krishna is the goal of all paths? Because there is a philosophy in India. It doesn't matter who I worship, it doesn't matter what I do, it'll take me to Krishna. That's not the same thing here. That's not the same thing. Right, that's not the same thing. This is a deeper realization of that statement. And creator of Varnashram, why did he throw Varnashram in here? What does that have to do with transcendental knowledge? You'll see, okay? So when we find out, yeah, he's the creator of Varnashram, why? Okay, 11 through 15. What was the first section?
1 to
1 to
10.
Transcendental knowledge about Krishna. And now from 11 through 15,
Krishna
he's the goal of all paths. Right, and it doesn't mean all paths are one. It doesn't mean that. That's different understanding. Incorrect. Okay, now, obviously we're going to start with 16 for the third book. And that's called what? Karma Yoga. And where's that one going to stop? 24. Now you can see these are multiples of 8. Okay? So you have 1 and 10, 11 and 15, and 16 and 24. This is a very deep section. One who understands this person's free from sinful reaction. Very deep. This is Karma Yoga, the intricacies of action. Very difficult to understand. Okay, our next section is entitled what? Knowledge. Yes, the whole world is full of people sacrificing. They're sacrificing their life, their blood, their time, their money. Are they getting transcendental knowledge for it? No. No, not necessarily. In fact, they're probably getting neshes instead.
And migraines.
And migraine. And misery and suffering. And then they have to go home and take misery for enjoyment. I think this is all worth it. That's what the whole material.
Yes.
It's illusion from beginning to end.
Yes.
It is illusion from beginning to end. Okay, so sacrifices that are authorized by the scripture and that lead to transcendental knowledge. Okay, would you like to pull up a chair? Why don't you join us over here? Or perhaps you'd like to sit wherever you're happy and comfortable. All right, so now you know the sacrifices that lead to transcendental knowledge. All right, now, next. The final one is what you get in any discourse. You have to get a summary, a conclusive summary. And we'll talk about this at the retreat. Every presentation has 3 parts. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. So every section is like that, every paragraph is like that, every presentation, every speech, anything you do, any drama, it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So here at the end we do what? We summarize what? Transcendental knowledge, because that's what we're talking about. We summarize transcendental knowledge. Yeah, maybe you can sing those nice things over there. They're very sweet. They will help you. And your good name is?
My name is Krishna.
Okay, well, I hope you dropped into a very exciting experience. All right, so now we know the titles, and we have to get the number on that last section, because remember, the 4th one ended on 24.
No.
So the titles,
we didn't change. We just jumped 1.
oh, I skipped one. Where am I now? 16 to 24. Oh, I'm sorry. 25 to 33. Okay? From 25 to 33, this is sacrifices that lead to transcendental knowledge. Right, because if we're going to sacrifice every moment of our life, every rupee in our pocket, every minute of every aspect of our energy, it should go for the right thing. Right? Have you had that experience where you spent a lot of time on something and it was a waste?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, kind of life so.
Yeah, the most of my life, before I became a devotee, it was like 35 years of doing the wrong thing. And then you wake up, and as Prabhupada said, either that the point of you have the sense the urgency. Oh my goodness, what have I been doing with my life? So you don't want to keep wasting it. So from 25 to 33, we're going to read about sacrifices that lead to transcendental knowledge, and these are authorized in the scripture. This is not something you whimsically decide. Oh, I'm going to take my pet dog on a walk and Krishna will take me back to Godhead for that. That will not work. Unless it's dovetailed, it's not going to work. If somehow you can, I think in the West they show pictures of devotees who are using their dogs to distribute Prabhupada's books. Yes, they're putting little saddles on the dogs. And they're going, because in America, a dog is the best friend. And that's what they're going to be in their next life, so they better be your best friend. Because if you haven't been a good friend to your dog, you're going to get a master in the next life who's not so nice. So I didn't see the pictures, but I could hear it on the radio by Sheshika's area, that they put the books in and the dog does big. He's one of the biggest book distributors in America. Everybody's. You saw it. You saw it. Was it funny? Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's on YouTube?
No, but there was Badri Narayan did an amazing presentation. We should try to get videos. Amazing presentation of hopeful signs in Lord Chaitanya's movement. And it is spreading. Sometimes we may see the ups and downs, but when you see this video, it's spreading, folks. Clever ideas everywhere. Lord Chaitanya is no fool. Okay, so our final section now is summary, right? Summary. So we want to know where. So obviously it's going to start with 34, which is probably one of the most important verses in the Bhagavad Gita. How to approach a spiritual master, 434. And where will it stop? 42. 34 to 42. Okay. So our first section was 1 through what? 10. 11 through 15. 16 through 24. 25 through 33. And 34 through 42. Okay, now here's our game. Are we ready? So what we do is we go around the room and we all say those numbers. So you start with number 1. And then the next number is 10. And then your number will be 11. 15. And Manji and Mike. 16. Yes, but what's the number after 15? 16. 16. And Rani? 24. 24. And? 25. 25 and? 33. 33. And your friend will say? 34. 34. Hey, good. She jumped in and she parachuted in and she got it. She's they're intelligent. I tell you one thing I've learned about people coming from the Orient. They're sharp. They're very sharp. It's true. Japanese, they're sharp. Okay, I remember in America, actually, they had sort of a reverse prejudicial thing. You know how people get prejudicial about false ego? So they would often discriminate against people on the argument that they were less intelligent. So the sort of the middle class white, right? All those people that are in a darker body, so they're not as intelligent. So we have to discriminate. But the Orientals, they discriminated again because they were more intelligent. It's amazing. They were doing that. Well, they're too intelligent. We better. They'll keep us out of the picture. We won't do that to you, though. I promise. We're hopefully above that kind of sectarianism here. We're on the spiritual platform, we hope. Okay, then she just told us the last number was 24. 24? 24. And yours is now going to be
42.
She got 34. 34. And what's the next one going to be now?
42.
42. That ends that chapter. So we're going to start with Bharti. What's the next one? 1. Good, she figured it out. What's your number? 10. What's your number? 11.
15.
15.
16.
16. You looked. 24. 25. 25. Okay. 33. 33.
34.
34. She's looking. That's okay, Eka. All right. Well, what is the number? It's 42. 42. They can prompt you. 42. Okay, start again. 3. 40. Oh, 40. You're 1 again. We have to go around a few times until you guys have automatic. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, Okay, what's next? Sudhi.
16.
16. What's next?
24.
24.
25.
25.
33.
33.
34.
Next. 42. At least nobody in here has fallen asleep. This is the one thing in this class we do not allow. Okay, so you all got that? Now turn to your study partner and see if you can do them now. I'm going to tell you everything you know so far. Oh, the section title, where it
Finally, I saw this first one, so I can the
Sorry, I'm not looking at you.
You changed the location. It was in front of the main 7 o'clock.
Not main gate, you forgot. It's on the back door.
Yeah, no, they said they changed it. I didn't know, so I missed it. So
Next time you have a chance. 10. February 10th, still. We have one more space, but it's a pity you didn't come because I point to that location, direction. You didn't notice it. Near MVT, not
Name?
Oh, you could. You're very
It's 8 in between. Then you have to. And because there's only 5, so that helps as well. There's only 5 breakdowns. Yeah. Just 1 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 24, 33, 34 to 42. Much easier to remember than when you know, like you get to know the verses, then it's easy. You know that it's between 11 and 15, so maybe it's verse 14. You want to remember it. I was to suggest that people remember that even I do.
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
So now, are you all fixed in transcendental knowledge?
Yes.
Yes. You have a
I
picture.
understand.
You know what? And you know where. You know what you need to know, and you know where I can find it. All right, now the other mental skill, study skill, that we learn from authorities in education. Not that we're making this up, but the authorities in the educational process, we work from general to increasingly specific. You saw how we started out with the chapter title, the sections, 5, the location. All right, now we are prepared to get more and more specific about everything. So we take help. Remember, there's help available. So our study guide will show us summaries. Summaries for each of these topics. So let us turn to the study guide. Okay? Some of you have your own, some of you have classroom. Classroom study guides have a little gold sticker. On page 43 of the study guide, we will now have, because we know the section title, Krishna, transcendental knowledge about Krishna. Krishna is the goal of all paths. We know the title. But let's just say we see a book. We go to the bookshop and we see a book. And it's called Prisoners of Desire. Oh, that sounds dramatic. I want to read that. And guess what it is? It's about us. Prisoners of desire. It turns out to be a book about us. That's what we are. We're prisoners of material desire. So it's a very exciting book. And we decided we don't want to read it anymore.
Should close it.
But let's hope this book's... So now we said, oh, transcendental knowledge about Krishna. Who's he? Let's find out. This is an exciting title. Who's Krishna? I had to laugh when I was reading Burjan give us the description years ago about his first Bhagavad Gita. He loved the book. He had a book that was not Prabhupada's. It wasn't bona fide. He loved it. He read it every day. He said, I named my cat Bhagavad Gita. Obviously, destiny awaited him. He named his cat Bhagavad Gita. But he said there was one thing about the Gita that bothered me. Why is this guy Krishna saying he's God? It's an amazing book, but why do he keep saying I'm God? So you can see what happens with unauthorized versions. You know?
Oh,
But
yes.
obviously destiny awaited him, right? He's become the sort of the master of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, transcendental knowledge about Krishna. That sounds exciting. I want to know more about it. Okay, so now I'm going to read and let you fill in whenever I stop. Everybody gets to recite loudly. And remember, one study skill. If you want to improve your comprehension, how many here want to improve their comprehension? How many? Good. What's the matter? You don't? Okay. You fully comprehend the Talmud cooking? And I'd also like to read faster. How many want to do that? Okay, guess what? You have a built-in tool, your index finger. We call it your cursor. It doesn't curse anybody. We don't do that. Yeah, we don't curse. Yeah, right. Maybe you want to use your little finger. You want to curse the book? Anyway, the speed reader folks tell you use your... If you don't want to use the cursor finger, you can use your little pinky. Okay. But whatever you do, use your hand. You can use our pen. As long as it's not making a mark. Okay. Okay. And what you do is you slide along as if you were making a mark. And guess what? It keeps that restless mind focused. Doesn't it? Have you found that's true? Simple tool. Right there, right built in with your hand. And you slide along, and then as you get more proficient, you can increase your speed that way. You can say Krishna, 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 or Radha, Radha. Whatever you want to say that's transcendental. And you'll find your speed and your concentration go way up. Okay, so let's take Pinky, and I'll read. And then when I stop, you say. As the supreme authority,
Krishna.
who spoke this knowledge earlier to who? And now again to
Arjuna.
Because he is
Krishna's
devotee and
friend.
Although Krishna is
Unborn.
he appears to reestablish
Religion.
to protect his
Devotees.
and to kill the
Demoniac.
Anyone who understands this
Knowledge.
will attain
Love.
for
Krishna.
and go back to
Godhead.
at the end of this
Life.
Wow, this is a great book. I better read this book. Now, did you see the key words you spoke? You spoke Krishna, Vivaswan, Arjuna, devotee, friend, unborn, religion, devotees, demoniac, knowledge, love, Godhead, life. You see how a brilliant summary this is? We're going to find all this in this chapter. From verses 1 through what?
10.
Wow, I hope you're excited about reading this book. And now you know the title, and now you know the summary. Right? And this will teach you how to write a summary. Right? Because here, in just a few sentences, how many sentences? 1, 2, 3 sentences. They've summarized 10 slokas. That takes intelligence, which I'm sure you all have. Okay.
Summary of the chapter.
Oh, I forgot the summary of the chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back.
That's what I was saying.
See, this is what we have prompters for.
Yeah.
This helps because we're fallible. Here we go. Thank you very much. These are what you call the yajna guides. You know, like when they do these Vedic sacrifices, they have referees. That priest did not pronounce that correctly, or he skipped that mantra. And the poor calf is not going to make it. Okay, here we go. In chapter 3, Krishna explains that lust covers knowledge and that ignorance binds us. He recommended karma for attaining transcendental knowledge. Thus, after urging Arjuna to be transcendental with the help of knowledge, he now explains what knowledge is and how it is received. Yes! Wow! Did you catch all that? Now he's telling you here, lust covers what? Knowledge. Ignorance binds lust. And you should use karma yoga to get what?
Transcendental.
And then after you are transcendental with the help of knowledge, you're going to find out what that knowledge is and how it is received. Whoa. Isn't that a nice summary? Very good. So thank you, referee. That was good. Now let's pick up the book that's entitled Krishna is the goal of all paths and the creator of Vanashram. That looks like a good book. Let's see what the authors say is the summary. So let's use your pinky and let's find out. After giving knowledge about himself that leads to liberation, Krishna now explains how he is the ultimate goal of all paths and that everyone is dependent upon his mercy for their attaining success. Oh, everyone's dependent on Krishna. He created the Varnashram system whereby men can fulfill their material desires and make progress towards liberation. But he is above this system. So now he's creating a system so men can progress towards what? Liberation. This is the purpose of Varnashram. It's not just to keep people stuck in one caste. That's not the idea. That's caste. No. The Varnashram system is a progressive system that leads people to liberation. It's not to keep people away from you because I don't like you, you're this or you're that. It's not like that. Now let's see the book entitled Karma Yoga. Let's see what's in that book. We've got the title. Let's see what the authors say is the summary. After explaining his transcendental position, Krishna analyzes action and describes how to perform activities on the transcendental plane. Yes, because if we know that karma yoga is what we should do, we have to figure out how it's done. Okay. Next book on the shelf is called Sacrifices Lead to Transcendental Knowledge. Now we want to know which ones are suitable for us, because we're different, and we will be attracted to different sacrifices. That makes sense. Obviously, someone who's a brahmachari will not perform the same sacrifices of a grihastha. And someone who's attracted to Vedic knowledge will not perform the same sacrifice that some other kind of fruited worker. So that was the reason for the Varnashram system. So that sacrifices could be designed according to people's nature. Does that make sense? Because if you got different natures, you're going to want to do different sacrifices. You can see some people in the sacrifice temple can sit there for hours making garlands.
Yeah.
Hours, stay up all night doing flower outfits. And one lady told me, Mitra told me, she said, it's my addiction. I'll tell you, that's not my addiction. I couldn't do that all night. you know, put flour for the next day, and then it's after 2 hours, it's thrown in the bin. I mean, it's amazing. But for some people, that's their sacrifice. Now, other people can do something else. She can go distribute bags to these little kids all over the place. And she'll come in, oh, I had a chance to. I couldn't do that. So everybody has a different nature. So the Lord arranges sacrifices according to the Varnashram system. That is why the Varnashram system is presented here. Does everybody follow the logic? Because otherwise, what is it talking about?
Yeah, what is coming?
Makes sense? No, makes sense?
Yeah.
Good point, okay. Next, sacrifices. Now repeat. After describing how to act on the transcendental platform, Krishna describes a variety of sacrifices in verses 25 to 33. Because these sacrifices have transcendental knowledge, which is the theme of this chapter, as their ultimate goal. Yes, that's their goal. That's why it's a sacrifice. Sacrifice has already been discussed in Bhagavad Gita 3.9 to 16, where Krishna explained that without sacrifice or one cannot live happily in this world. Yeah, somebody said, wait a minute, I don't want to sacrifice. Well, if you don't want, who wants to be happy? Anybody here? Guess what you have to do? Sacrifice. Oh, but I don't want to do that. Well, here's your choice. If you want to be happy, you have to do what? Sacrifice. And if you don't want to do sacrifice, you have to be what? Unhappy. Very good. That's called logic. All right, here's the final book on this section in the shelf. Summary of Transcendental Knowledge. Now, all of us are pressed for time, so let's read this book. Let's see what it says. Having explained that all sacrifices lead to transcendental knowledge, Krishna now describes aspects of transcendental knowledge. To attain transcendental knowledge, one must control the senses and submissively approach a spiritual master to render faithful service to him. Thus one will become free from sinful reactions and understand knowledge of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. Krishna urges Arjuna to arm himself with transcendental knowledge and pride. Oh, okay. Wow. Nice progression. Right? Because here he's telling you, sacrifice leads to transcendental knowledge, and when you have one, but you must control your senses. You just don't have the knowledge, and then you go eat, 25 pizzas. You have to control your senses, and then you have to find someone who's going to guide you. And then you don't just walk up to him and say, hey, I'm going to tell you something. You have to approach him submissively, make inquiries, and render some service. It's not a one-way thing. If you think I can just exploit him with nothing in return, you've got the wrong idea. That doesn't work on any platform, especially on that one. Because guess what Krishna will do? He won't enlighten you. If it's a one-way street, Krishna won't send the knowledge. He's going to turn the tap off. He's got the water coming from up there, right? And if you're down here and you're not approaching submissively, if you're not inquiring for understanding, and if you're not rendering something in return, Krishna says, close the tap. Go out there and get material knowledge. That's why most people are doing that. Because they don't know how to approach a spiritual person ever. It's a fact. Why is everybody out there approaching universities and this and that? Are they getting spiritual knowledge? No. In most cases, no. Very good. Because they don't know how to approach. This is the process of how to receive knowledge. That's why verse 434 is so... Okay, does that sound like a good book? Okay. Okay, you've all got that one. Let's take a look at our questions. Did anybody here find time to do some serious home study? Yeah. 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands went up. 4, 5, 6. How about you? Did you have time? Oh, it's the first time he did. Oh, let's show him how to turn a page. Krishna Das is new to our program. Who wants to give a demonstration on how to treat sacred books? Books are sacred. Even if they're about material subjects, they're Saraswati's. If they're about Krishna, they're even more sacred. How do we turn a page? Yes! Why? Because I'm fanatic? Why do we turn a page like that?
We don't want to destroy it.
What happens when we turn it the other way? It ruins the page. It makes it like a puppy dog's ear. It dog ears the book. Within one day, your book looks as though it went through the washing machine. Is that the way to treat something? It would be like if you took your bead bag and you went, you know. It's not what you do with sacred things. Or you say, oh yeah, I just throw it on the floor, I leave it on the do you have anything on the floor? You should have your board. Now, any paper, anything. Yes. That's what we give you boards. The floor is mooch. The floor is moochy. Why? Why is the floor moochy?
People walk on it.
Everybody's been walking everywhere. All kinds of things on the ground. Pond, monkey stool, dog stool. And then you're putting your books on that? Oh, don't let me see you do that. Don't let Krishna, don't let Krishna see you do that. Who am I? Don't let Krishna see you do that. You get a little tick mark after your awareness chart. So now you know the why. Treat these books with utmost appreciation and respect. Okay? Everybody got that one?
Yes.
Good lesson. Logical?
Extremely.
It's hygienic too. You know, does anybody notice what I do after class? What do I do after a class? I wash everything. The boards, the baskets, the books. Why? How do I do that?
Hygiene.
It's hygienic. That means the next person who touches it, it's clean. You get off a plane, what do they do for the next flight?
Clean up.
They clean up and they fumigate the thing. Right? That's maybe not so, but you know, the next group coming in wants to feel like, okay, I don't get the last passengers, you know, flu or cold or whatever they have. Right? It's hygienic. What's the spiritual hygiene? Spiritual hygiene is there.
Yes.
Okay? All right. So now let's see what the questions were. Because we have to do 4 slokas. So much to do. What page are we on now? 83. I finished all but the last 2. The lessons for chapter 4 included lessons 16, 17, 18, and 19. So they pretty much span 4 topics, overlapping a little bit. Now, I'll read and you fill in the words. Use your pinky. I'm going to read the questions for lesson 16. Explain the significance of Parampara. Oh, what's Parampara? Right? Number 2. Why does Krishna appear on earth? In what different ways does he accomplish his mission? Okay, so in here we're going to have an explanation question, we're going to have a why question, and we're going to have a what question. 3 kinds of questions. Remember, be smart. What's the verb? The first verb is explain. The next one is why, and the next one is what. Lesson 7, always look for the verb. It's the clue as to how to think. If I tell you why and you just, you tell me something else, you didn't think. Okay. This is actually critical skill, thinking. Did anybody figure that out in life? If you don't think, you're not getting too far. All right. Lesson 17. How is Krishna the object of everyone's realization? Oh, this is deep. According to their desires. Now that's a very deep thing. guess what? They're looking for Krishna and they don't know it. They don't know. And here it's going to, what's your question now? What kind of word? How? Is he the object of everyone's realization? And the realization is dependent on their desire. Now that should tell you something. If my desires are keeping me from a higher realization, what should I do?
Change your desires.
Change your desires. Yes, there's a thinker. Here is this person's thinking. Because this sentence is very deep. Very deep. How is Krishna the object of everyone's realization? Now, the fruited worker hasn't realized him as much as a bhakti yogi. Because of his desires. Ooh, so deep. So my desires will indicate my realization. They say you can judge a man by his aspiration. Very deep. Oh, I want to be the Prime Minister of India. Would you necessarily want his company? No. Unless he becomes a life member. But what about somebody who says, I want to practice Vaidhi Bhakti to attain Bhakti Bhakti? What would you say about that aspiration?
Cool.
Yes, that's higher. And maybe the ultimate goal is, I want to be able to chant Prem Nam.
Very good.
Wow.
Now, which of the two people, let's just say, I want to be the Prime Minister of India, and the other person would say, I want to be able to, in this lifetime, chant Prem Nam. Which two people you say
Chant
is in a higher...
Prem.
Yeah, that person's in a higher, according to his desire. You understand that question?
Yeah.
Yes, very deep, deep question. Next, how does one become free from reactions while performing activities? That's deep. Everything you do is creating a what?
Reaction.
Yeah, material world. For every action, equal and opposite
Reaction.
I step on something. Let's say I didn't know it, I stepped on a bug. What do I have to do? I have to suffer a reaction for that. I breathe. I inhale microbes. I have to suffer a... So how can I live in this world without accruing more reactions that keep me... And for one action, sometimes I can accrue millions of lifetimes. For every piece of meat a person eats, as many births as there are hair on the bodies of that animal. How many millions of births for one action? You better know that. Scary, isn't it? And we're walking around just doing this and that and this and that and going here and there and saying, and we have no idea what's in store for us. Except by the virtue of transcendental knowledge. Scary, is it not?
Mataji, is there any verse for this? Anywhere in the scripture?
Any verse for this? Chapter 4.
You're talking about the cow?
Oh, for the cows. Meat
Coming
for the cows. I don't know the exact sloka, but I've certainly heard that ever since I've been a devotee. And I do know that Prabhupada does write in, again, I don't know particularly which purport, but he writes there are 8 levels of implication for meat. Cooking it, serving it, transporting it, authorizing it, curing it.
There's a verse for that.
The exact, the verse. Oh, how many verse? I don't, oh, you have the verse? You say?
In the book.
Okay, if she has the verse, fine. But let's save that for now, okay? Because we don't want to get derailed. Okay. If it's a question for clarification, but something like this, we don't want to take time. But do look it up because it's important. All right, now, lesson 18. What is the purpose of sacrifice? That's deep. Because that depends on your desires, right? I have to share something brilliant I heard. I can't. Arguing not for Arjuna to fight in the Gita. It sounds like it. But what he's arguing is his intention. If he gives up fighting, it's in the mode of ignorance. If he fights on the karma kanda level, it's on the mode of passion. Right? If he fights because of duty, it's in the mode of goodness. But he fights because Krishna told him to fight, it's transcendental. Brilliant. Understand the following. Because the other motives are going to be binding, more or less. But he fights because Krishna told him the order of Krishna is transcendental to the motives. And that brings no reaction. Because guess what? Arjuna will fight anyway. He told him that. He said, it's your nature to fight. You're going to fight even if you... He did that. He'd go to the forest and he'd fight with the Gandharvas. Your nature, by nature, you're going to fight. Have you seen people that are like that? They just like to fight. Most of the people on the planet are like that. But here's telling him why. Why should you? What's your intention? That is the Gita. That is the Gita. And what is the difference between the, what's the next word?
Sacrifice.
Of materials and the sacrifice of?
Transcendental.
Oh, maybe I just gave $50 million to something, and maybe I've studied Bhagavad Gita. Is there a difference? You'll see. Yeah, there's a difference. If the objective is transcendental knowledge, it's a higher level of sacrifice. It's a higher status, higher level of sacrifice. What are the three important aspects? Everybody? Ones with a bona fide spiritual master. Three important ingredients. You have to know them. If you don't do that, Krishna shuts the tap. Or he turns it on slowly. You have to know it, and guess what you have to do? You have to do it. Don't just know it. That's Gyan. Vigyan means I realize it and I do it. Describe the fate of two kinds of people. Which one?
Faithful person,
Doubter. Really. Okay. Now, what I want to do is we'll do a sloka, and then we'll do some questions, and then we'll do a sloka, and we'll do some questions. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody's so far, so good. All right. There are 4 slokas. Let's get our slates. There are 4 slokas that are memory slokas from chapter 4. Now, before we just did a few sing-songs on chapter 2, Devi Nosmin, and we did a few sing-songs on chapter 3, Prakriti Kriyamati, 327. So in this chapter, there are 4 slokas that are critical. So let us write them, because if we see here, say it, we'll understand better. 4.9. 2. What is it? 4.2. 4.2. Okay, and you have your little charts, but first write it down because you have to know these numbers. Right now you're going to put these numbers in your memory store, your hard drive. You all have a CD hard drive up here. A bunch of your black box. Did you try to play anything yet? It helps, doesn't it? Yeah, you spend your time listening to those lectures. They figure a lot. I listen all day long to something or other. 4.2, key memory verse, must be required if you're going to do Bhakti Shastri. And as a devotee, if you don't know it exactly by heart, you should at least know it in essence. 4.2. This sloka tells us how transcendental knowledge is received. Because remember, Burjot had a book on Bhagavad Gita for years. And he kept wondering why is Krishna keeps saying it's God. But I'll name my cat Bhagavad Gita. Obviously that book was not in the what? Parampara. Because the parampara is your internet connection with Krishna. Right? If you want to read your email, what do you have to do first? You gotta log in. Right? You have to log in. You have to get a connection with some system, either Reliance or whatever is around, whatever systems are around, right? Try to go online and you don't have a system, it's not going to work, right? So transcendental knowledge, the parampara is your internet connection with whom?
Krishna.
Yes, and then therefore Krishna is the one who's the authority, who's giving us what?
Knowledge.
Transcendental knowledge, yes. How can we know transcendental knowledge when we're down here? It has to come down through the connection. That's 4.2. How to receive transcendental knowledge. The next sloka you have to know.
There's a mistake in the number.
Yeah, numbers are.
4.8, it's 4.2.
Okay, yeah, please correct these. I didn't really go through these, but write the corrections. Yeah, somebody else did it, and she did me a
There
big
is
favor.
two
It was actually
4.8, one is
Lalata, and
misprinted.
I don't know why she got, she's
2.8.
very knowledgeable, she
4.2.
was classes, I don't know why there's so many mistakes. There were mistakes before. 4.2. This supreme science was thus received. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, absolutely required. I think it's 4.8. This is the why. First one is how does it come down? Why does Krishna come down? First we know how the knowledge comes down. Now we want to know why does Krishna come down? Why does he come down? And does he take a material body when he comes down? No. Ooh, that's very well clearly explained. This section's brilliant. Okay, so 4.2, 4.8, and 4. This one. I think some people said this sloka was quoted more than any other one.
It comes twice.
Yeah, this sloka, of all of the slokas that Prabhupada, in all of his lectures and I mean, there are so many that are critical. I mean, they'll say, oh, this verse is the key, or this verse is the essence, or this verse is the ultimate. But this verse he quoted the most. One who knows the transcendental nature. And guess what? Today we're going to know the transcendental nature of Krishna. And you're going to see the benefits of that knowledge. Remember one important thing. We are born into ignorance. What are we born into?
Ignorance.
Guaranteed. And ignorance is the root of sin. So what's the opposite of ignorance? Knowledge. And the result of knowledge is?
Transcendental.
What's the result of knowledge?
Happiness. Ultimate happiness.
That's the thing I'm looking for. The other opposite of sin. If ignorance is the root cause of sin, knowledge is the cause of
Pious.
freedom from sin.
Sin.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If ignorance is the root cause of knowledge, of sin, and bondage, then knowledge has to be the cause of freedom from sin and liberation and back to God. So is this chapter important?
Yes.
Yes. Because this is how you get out of ignorance and out of reaction, and how you go back to God again. 4.2, 4.8, and 4.9.
So if you said how, why, what would you say 4.9 is?
One who knows the trend. It's not, what?
Yeah, what is this?
I was thinking that
not take his birth again in this material world.
Any teens?
One who
Or
knows,
where?
Always.
to one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not upon, so it would be what? Knowing the transcendental nature of Krishna's
To know
appearance.
what? To know what about you?
Yeah, what about his transcendent nature and his appearance? Okay, and our last one, and we talked about this before. If you don't know this, you're not going to get the tap turned on. The tap will be turned off. What's this verse?
34.
Just try to learn the truth. Did you notice that? It doesn't even necessarily say just learn the truth. Krishna is happy when you just try. We're all trying, right? Do you think he's not happy with us right now? No matter what our mental condition, no matter what our conditioned state, our history, our background, or an artist, that anyone who's trying to learn about transcendental knowledge, that's why you have to be really careful around devotees. Krishna is very happy with that soul. He's trying to understand me. Isn't that, just like when your little baby tries to please you, are you happy? Even if he doesn't, he spills the water or knocks over the milk, or when he forgets to do something. If he tries, you're happy. Right? So Krishna's happy when the jiva's trying. He's not going to say, be perfect the first time, or you're finished, you're condemned forever. No, you're trying. You're not condemned forever. There might be ways you would do things to make you condemned forever, but if you're trying to do the right thing, no. So what are your 4 runs again?
4.2,
4.8, Okay, very good. So now, quickly, 2 questions, a sloka. 2 questions, a sloka. I don't know if we can do these in time or something. Okay. Briefly, explain the significance of parampara. I don't want you to read it. I want someone just to summarize it orally. Remember, we have 2 traditions, oral and verbal and written. These are the 2 modes of communication, visual, audio. So can someone from this is your first on 83, your first question, and this is explained in the purports and in the slokas of 4.1, 4.2, and to some degree 4.3. What is the significance of the parampara? Who would like to just tell us, as a serious student of Bhagavad Gita?
The parampara is bringing the transcendental knowledge from the absolute truth, and it's making for us it's like it's making it easy to get the knowledge. And
Right. It is the system. Very good. It is the system by which knowledge is handed down from the original source, who is what?
Krishna.
Down through a chain of what?
Disciplic succession.
Disciplic succession. The other term for it is the disciplic succession of authorized, bona fide spiritual personalities without personal motivation or interpretation. Because if that enters in, it pollutes the message. Right? That's why if you hear some kind of gramaka talk, somebody would say, did you hear it directly or did you hear it from somebody else? Because somebody else may have misunderstood or personally twisted it.
Yeah, this also.
And then is it the same thing?
No.
No. So the parampara is the system by which transcendental knowledge is received through the disciplic succession, originating with Krishna and coming down through the ages to the present time. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, do you see how we summarize that? Those points have to be there without personal motivation or interpretation. That can't be there. Then that pollutes it. Pollutes it. Number 2. Why does Krishna, here's a why question, why does Krishna appear on earth? And this would be answered in the other sloka we have to do. 4.8. Why does he appear? Because he's tired of playing with the gopis? He's got so many fun things to do up there. Play with his flute, play with the cowherd boys. Why does he come, person?
To be with the pious.
Okay, there are three things he does.
Deliver the pious.
One is to do what? To deliver the pious and annihilate the demons, right? And the final thing? Establish religion. Yeah, when there's a rise in your religion, a predominant rise in your religion, he comes to reestablish it. Because he wants his children to follow the guidelines. He's the parent. And they're not following, I have to come down and reestablish the rules. If the little boys don't do something, mother has to say, I'm sorry, you forgot to clean up after your meal. Right?
Mataji, Prabhupada saying here, the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees who are always harassed by the demons.
Yes, actually, it's interesting. Vishwanath Chakravarti gives a deep explanation of this. That he actually comes to give pastimes so his devotees can remember him. And he comes to kill particularly demons that are so powerful that nobody else could really kill them. Like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Shishupal, Dandabhakra. They're so big. These small-time demons, an earthquake can take care of them. Or a landslide at Kedarnath. Whatever. Those are Adidivika catastrophes. Adidivika catastrophes. Don't you think Krishna can just with a glance of his eyebrow make earthquakes go and thunderbolts, fire, forest fires? He can do anything with an eyebrow. But he personally comes to these big-time demons and also pastimes for his devotees to please because they're feeling so much separation from him. This is explained in the Bhagavatam. So those are the reasons, and to reestablish the principles of religion. That's why he's speaking the Gita to Arjuna again, because the parampara was broken. And Arjuna, he has chosen him to hear it for our sake. Okay. Now, I think we'll go quickly through the questions. We'll finish that. I had an earlier intention, but let's do the question. How is Krishna the object of everyone's realization according to their desire? Now that is explained in 4.11. And you have a study chart that will answer this simply. In the book that has your study chart, if you turn to the study chart to chapter 4, you have two study charts. Krishna fulfills everyone's desires, different destinations and results.
Chart number 5.
Okay, everybody find your chart? Because these charts make it very, very easy. You all find these charts? Now notice we're going from the bottom up. You all see it?
Yeah.
Now the lowest level on this chart is karmis. And what do the karmis want?
Material desire.
Yes, they want the fruits of their desires. Oh, I want a good wife. I want a good son who will take care of me when I'm old. I want a house. I need money. I need help. They want desires and they're working with that. They come to Krishna for that. And according to their karmic credits, they get it, but he has to give it by his mercy. Remember that? Okay, what about a next level? Brahmanis. What does the Brahmani want? He wants to go to Brahman. Yes, that's his level of realization. The fruitive worker doesn't know there's more to life than getting a good house and a nice wife and you know, money. He doesn't know there's more to life than that. That's the goal of, that's his aspiration. Right? That's his goal. That's certainly not the goal of all of you sitting here. Now the Brahmavadis, what's their level of realization? Brahman. That's it. They don't know anything beyond that. So that's the most they know. So that's what they're going to want. Right? Everybody here is struggling for something he wants. Whether it's a new car, a house, Brahman, whatever. We're struggling for Goloka. Brahmavadis, and what does Krishna give them? Brahman, of course. Now, higher than that, Mayavadi. But what does he get? Because he's got it wrong. Brahmavadi accepts that Krishna is the supreme, but he accepts that the highest level is the Brahman. The Mayavadi's conception is that he will become God. Is that possible for the individual living entity?
No.
Can you ever become God?
No.
No. At the past, present, or future. So his conception is incorrect.
So they should come below.
Why he's got it here, but he mentions the Mayavadi, I don't know what he's put in this position. I'm not sure. You read the purport. He talks about the other disadvantage of the Mayavadi, particularly, is that if he does go up to that level, he has to fall back down. That's why so many of them come and, even though they say everything's an illusion, they still open hospitals, schools. Why, if it's all illusion, why do it? So the whole thing is, they're bewildered, actually. It's all bewilderment. It's called Maya. That's what Prabhupada said they're called Mayavadis, because they're under illusion. It's not because it's a higher, it's illusion. What about the yogi? What does the yogi want? Yes, and does Krishna give it to him? Yes, if he performs some appropriate activities. And what about the devotee? He goes to the Loka. Or some of them may be in a Vaikuntha mood, where they want one of the other opulences to go to one of the Vaikuntha planets. Some may want to go to Dwarka. But most people who worship Krishna with his two-armed flute form, they want Goloka. Because Dwarka is his opulent mood. And Vaikuntha's four arms. And everybody looks the same. You walk around in Vaikuntha and you think, well, where's Krishna? You guys, well, it's not me. And he looks just like you. They all look alike. I mean, could you imagine if all of a sudden we turned into four-armed Vishnu forms? Which one's Radhika Priya? It's confusing. So people who like differentiation, that's why devotees are so rich and so varied. We talked about if you walk into another temple like Chowpatty, right? Most everybody's an Indian, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
You walk into this temple and everything under the sun is there. Every variety. I think there's one devotee who was at Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. She said, you see Krishna's transcendental humor. When you walk into Krishna Balaram temple, every variety of species is there. Every species is there. Okay. So you see the chart here? According to your desire. That's your realization. And the realization, even amongst those who go Loka, higher and higher, according to the intensity of love. Oh, I want to be a flute. Oh, I want to be a servant. Love is higher. Oh, I want to be a friend. Love is more intense. Oh, I want to be a parent. Love is more intense. Oh, I want to be a gopi. Love is most intense. Oh, I want to serve Radharani. That's the top list. Okay? So according to the intensity of love, the love for Krishna down here, is it very big?
No.
No. Give me.
It's just collecting.
You collect it, yeah. But as they go higher, all these are still materially entrapped. But once you take the transcendental goal, okay, then it's like that. These charts are helpful. Okay, next question. Really quick. I heard the bell. We're going to turn into pumpkins. You know the story of Cinderella. I've had to other times. Gosh. Everybody here turns into pumpkins, carriages, white mice. Our clothes turn into rags. Because the bell is ringing. Okay, what is the purpose of sacrifice? Oh yeah, how does one become free from reactions while performing activities? That, I had 7, did we get that right? Yeah. I had 7 points on that one. That was heavy. It went all the way from sloka number 16. Remember 24? It covered, and there were so many things that you should do to be free from reaction. Some of them you don't want to hear. But some of them are so simple. Just knowing that you're a servant of Krishna. How many of you know that? Eternally, you know that you're, just that knowledge will free you from sin. How about that? That's an easy bargain, right? Also, just knowledge that Krishna is not affected by work, nor does he want fruits. How many of you know that? How many of you know that Krishna is not affected by reaction, and that he doesn't want any fruit for his action? How many of you know that? Okay, some of you. Do you now know it?
Yes.
Okay, that frees you from reaction. That knowledge.
Please repeat this last one. Repeat it.
The one before that, or this one?
Last.
Yes. Do you know that Krishna is not affected by work, and that he does not want the fruits of his action? How many of you know that? Is Krishna affected by his work?
No.
Does he want the result of what he does?
No.
No. Okay, that frees you from reaction. That knowledge alone. It's amazing, this transcendental knowledge. All right, another thing that will free you from reaction, because you all want to know, right? Is how many of you want to be free from reaction? You want to know? Okay, I'm going to get out my book, because it will be patient. I spent about an hour on this question. Okay. It's deep. And I used to, when I graded papers in the VIG, I gave up. Because students would give one answer, and then I'd have to write out the other 6. I got tired of doing that. Okay. I had 7 points. One who knows the Lord neither experiences the effects of work or aspires for the fruits is similarly free from fruitive reactions. Number 1. Number 2. One must follow in the footsteps of authorized persons in a disciplic succession by acting fully in Krishna consciousness to become free from material entanglement. You have to follow those who are ahead of you in the parampara. If they do something, it's what we do. If you follow in their footsteps, everything's coming down from the parampara. From your guru to, if your guru is Prabhupada or after Prabhupada, or Prabhupada's guru, Bhaktisiddhanta, or you go on up that parampara, we follow in their footsteps. If you do that, you are what? Free from reaction. Obviously, you're doing what they tell you to do. Number 3, the intricacies of akarma, karma, and vikarma should be understood through authorities in Krishna consciousness. This will also help free you from reaction. Obviously, you know what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and actually what brings no reaction. That knowledge will free you. Number 4, acting in Krishna consciousness without any desire for personal sense gratification and with a sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of work. Acting in Krishna consciousness with a sense, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. Now think about these things. Does that ringing a bell with, today we have to think, this is me, this is my life. I want to walk out of this room and act in a way that if I step on a bug, or if I inhale a microbe, how do I think, how do I act, so I don't have to take millions of births? Because the minute we step out of here, you're on your own, folks. It's not just I went to class and Manaji's read some pages, notes in her book. These are guidelines for a karmic life. that all make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Is that important?
Yes.
You bet it is, unless you want to be around here for millions of births. Okay, number 5. Here's a very important word. Perform all activities for Krishna from a sense of love. For the Lord frees one from all reactions. Now, what was the key word?
Love.
Yes. Other things, fear, hope, duty, a good start. But what's the word here?
Love.
Yes. Is everybody helpful? Is this helpful to everybody?
Yes.
Did you see how many things I quoted?
Yes.
Number 6. Control of the mind and the intelligence. This is a big list. This is coming from 4.21. The whole sloka is packed. This whole section. The answer is not in one line, where you just turn it around and then think, no, the whole section. Bharati's looking sad. Control of the mind and the intelligence. Giving up all sense of proprietorship. Acting only for the bare necessities of life. Free one from all reactions to one's actions. That's 4.21 and per point. Next one, 4.22 plus per point. Satisfaction with gain which comes of its own accord. Freedom from duality. Freedom from envy. Steadiness. Both success and failure. Free one from entanglement. Now this hits at the issue of duality. This is why we focus on Krishna. Krishna is beyond duality. Everything else is duality. Hot, cold. Remember last week it was so cold in here? Now I'm feeling hot. Friend, enemy. Good, bad. Like, I don't like. That, folks, keeps you here. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Duality keeps us here. And Bhaktisiddhanta said, the degree to which we see in duality is the distance we are from the lotus feet of Krishna.
I didn't know this.
Talk about a one-liner. I'll repeat that. The degree to which we see in duality is the distance we are in the lotus feet of Krishna. So you know what the simple answer is? Krishna is everything, Krishna is everywhere, and everything is happening is under his supervision. Everyone who comes to your door, treat him as though he's Krishna. That solves the whole problem. Krishna's in everything, Krishna's everywhere, he's inside of everything, he's outside of everything. It's either his energies or his personal. His presence is Paramatma, his Paramatma is another living entity. He's in outside of everything. If you see like that, you are in Krishna consciousness and you're free from reaction. Freedom from all dualities. This is the last one, 4.24 plus purport. And from the modes of material nature are acts of sacrifice, which thus merge into transcendence. Matter, dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth, regains its spiritual quality. This was the summary. Anything and everything we do. Freedom from duality, freedom from the modes of nature, these are acts of sacrifice that free one. Everything we do then becomes absolute. It's dovetailed for transcendence. Those were 4.24, 4.4, 7 points I found. Maybe you'll find it. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
This chapter is amazing. This chapter is amazing.
Deciding the verses.
Yeah, we're over time. The ding dong bell. Pumpkin is turned into squash soup. I mean, I'm the worst one for punctuality on the planet. And I really had an idea that we were going to go through every verse and show you how every verse took you to the next step. But, and by the way, the last questions, I think we got a little bit. 3 ways to approach a guru. Approach him with humility, ask questions. Don't just sit there and look at him. Because if you're not asking questions, it means you are not eager to advance. That's what it means. If you just sit there, if you're not asking intelligent questions for the sake of understanding, or for the sake of challenging him, oh, I don't believe that. You don't say that to a guru. If you do, you better not go to one. Don't bother it. And on top of that, you should render some kind of service. It can be material, it can be an act of sacrifice, whatever. But if it's not reciprocation, good luck. Good luck. Because conditioned souls are so used to taking, that's why they don't get transcendental knowledge. You have to switch the objective to giving. There's reciprocation there. And it says in the purport, blind following is condemned. Oh, Gomer, I should jump off a cliff. That is what you call a cult. You know, in the West they do that. So they have these cults, and then the guru says, okay, let's all commit suicide together. And they do that. That's not intelligent. Blind follow. You ask questions for the sake of understanding, but not to put the guy on the hot spot. You'll hear classes sometimes in the temple. Some person will challenge, or in the Gita class, it happens a lot. Somebody says, oh yeah, we better worship Ganesh. You know, they're trying to put the speaker on the spot. It's really not recommended by Krishna. You can sense it. Challenging. Oh, come on, my other guru told me this, and what are you saying? Don't go to him if you're going to argue. Don't bother him. So I've gone over time. We've all turned into pumpkins, white mice, rags, and everything else. But I hope you've gained a little bit of transcendental understanding. How about you, Krishnadas? Are you okay? You're looking tired today. Are you okay? It was boring. No? All right. Anybody else have homework? Next week, chapter 5. Okay. We'll try to do the questions. So when you come, and then we've got to try to catch up on the slokas, because, and try in between, right? And well, 5 is only one sloka. Yeah, only one sloka. This one's big, 4. Okay. And a quick song and dance. Ready?
Yes.
The supreme science, thus received, through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings, understood it in that way. Yeah, because it was always passed down through the kings. It was always passed down through the Kshatriyas, not through the Brahmins, through the Kshatriyas, because they had to make sure people followed. Yeah. Let's try it again. The supreme science, thus received, through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings, understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is, here is truly lost. Get the points? Yes. Okay. Okay. To deliver the pious, and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I myself appear, millennium after millennium. Okay, one more. Desire to learn the truth. By approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively. And render service unto him. The self-realized soul. Can impart knowledge unto you. Because he has seen the truth. That's it. Very good. Lucy said, "My humble obeisances." Okay, so some of you who have to hurry down to Bhagavad Gita class, usually takes them a little while to sing the song and chant. Go catch the sloka, listen with intensity. I think they're in chapter 2.
Full one here.
For one still. Oh, that's the Piyavya Sayatmika Buddhi Yoga sloka. Probably the most important sloka for 40 days. Okay, we have some helpers here who very nicely collect boards. Gurangi's younger, she helps collect slates. Everything's been very simplified.